because I was just reading about landlords and about how stressed they are. Apparently 30% of all landlords in the UK are really stressed, and honestly I'm surprised it's just 30% for a number of different reasons. We've had so many different things hitting landlords across the face. So we've had stuff like removal of interest mortgage relief. We've had removal of Section 21s, that's coming. We've got increasing stamp duty. We've had removal of wear and tear allowance. It's just one thing after another after another. Then we've got licensing. I've just been hit with 2 licenses in one particular area, £850 per property, which is just crazy. That's £1,700, but I would much rather be spending on repairs. But instead, I'm having to pay for landlords who ain't ever going to bloody well license for damn things anyway. But let's just have a look at some of the highlights here. They were saying the research, by the way, was carried out by Just Landlords, and they found that a third of respondents said they were having more worries than they did 12 months ago, with 28% claiming that owning a rental property is very stressful. And honestly, I'm not surprised. I mean, we were looking at renting out one of our smaller houses in Hare Hills, part of Leeds, to a particular tenant, and he didn't have a bond. And I thought, do you know what? Let's roll the dice and let's go to Leeds City Council, see if they can help out. They came out, they inspected the property, and they came out with about £3,000 worth of repairs that had to be done before we would rent to this tenant. So we said, do you know what? We're not going to spend all that money. We spent some of the money because actually some of the work did need doing. But they came out with things like, well, the garden needs cutting. Well, I'm not cutting the garden. That's a tenant's responsibility to do it. And if the tenant doesn't want to do that, then just simply don't move in. Anyway, the council came back with all these different things. You know what it's like. The banister is 1 centimetre too low, so it needs raising a centimetre. It's like, well, surely that depends on how tall you are. So it's just ridiculous. So, you know, stress, more money. And we're like, do you know what? We're just not going to rent out to people on DSS where we have to go to the council and get their approval. How about we just don't do that? How's that helping anybody? It doesn't help the tenants, doesn't help the landlord, definitely doesn't help the government either. But interestingly, almost a quarter of those surveyed believe the new eco standards will have the greatest impact in 2020. So the eco standards are that for you to rent a property now, the EPC that you must have on your property, if you've got an EPC on there, it's got to have, I think it's at least an F and it's going to an E. It might be at least an E and it's going to go to a D. But at some point in the next 5 years, every single rental property will need to be at least a C. And again, think about the pressure that this is putting on landlords. Everybody thinks landlords are built of money, they've got loads of money, life is great, we're all sat drinking Bacardi breezes on the beach. Sometimes we do that. But honestly, being a landlord is actually quite difficult. So the amount of legislation that's coming in, and it is literally killing the landlord sector. Now, interestingly, about 250,000 landlords have basically said, that's it, enough's enough, I can't do it anymore, I don't want to do it. And then, of course, people are then complaining that rents are going up. Well, you just lost 250,000 landlords. Now, I don't know if that's 250,000 landlords or 250,000 properties. Big difference. Most landlords have 1 or 2 properties anyway, but some big players have a lot of properties, you know. So a friend of mine is just offloading 200 properties, literally selling 200 properties because he's just done. He's done with it. And then everyone's going, oh, rents are going up. Why are rents going up? We don't understand. It's just crazy. But look, if you're a stressed out landlord, first of all, you don't need to be stressed. Usually it's a lack of a couple of things here. One is a lack of money. The reason you've got a lack of money is you've got a lack of organisation on what you're doing with your money. And don't get me wrong, often you've got no money because for licensing procedures and wanting to take all your money as well. And there's EPCs and there's electrical checks and there's all sorts of different Legionnaire's disease checks, all sorts of different things. I get it. I totally get it. But now it's a time to get really organised. And the way in which I personally do it was through the use of the spreadsheet. I allocated budgets. So I've got a monthly budget to the whole portfolio. It's not cheap when you add it all up over the years, tens of thousands of pounds. But as a percentage of the portfolio income, it's relatively low. But I've got a budget that's then allocated every single month. So, excuse me, I've got a cold, by the way. So if I don't spend up to that budget, it just rolls over into next month's budget. And it basically balances out. There was a time 10 years ago when I didn't have a budget and I was hoping nothing would go wrong, and that's crazy. It's like hoping it's not going to rain, you know, if you live in England. We don't have that problem here in Spain. But it's hoping again, but it's not going to be windy, or hoping that your car doesn't break down if you don't keep repairing it. It's crazy. It's just crazy. So you've got to know that you're going to have some repairs at some point. You've got to have a budget allocated. And it takes a little bit of toing and throwing to understand what that budget should be and how much it needs to be. But you've got to start putting that in place. Honestly, planning your money is going to be the way that you're more successful as a landlord as we move into 2020, 2021. Got any questions, just drop them down below and we'll catch up with you on the next video. Hope that's useful for you. We'll speak to you soon. Take care.